All right, day one of our next project, which just so happens to be my 96 F250. So this has been the workhorse of the fleet. I've owned this truck for almost 20 years at this point, and it's been so invaluable that we just haven't really been able to afford to take it off the road. So she's getting kind of rough around the edges here. There's a few dents, the paint's peeling, I'm starting to get holes in the rocker. My bed is crumpled. I kind of ran over a Jeep on the highway a couple years back, and this side is in far worse shape. Cab corner's gone. You can't see it, but there's not a whole lot of sheet metal behind them flares anymore. So she's getting kind of rough, but 7.3 Powerstroke has been super reliable. I mean, I've put the majority of the miles on this truck. It's over 200,000 now. It was some 50 when I first bought it, so it's been a very reliable truck, and I do want to actually take the time and restore this thing and get it back to its former glory. So that's where we're at. We're finally ready to start. So the first part, we're going to break this up into sections because I really can't afford to have the truck off the road for an extended period of time. So I have a few ideas how we're going to do this while minimizing the amount of downtime. And the first things first is I want to pull the bed off this thing. I have another one that we're going to put on. So yeah, let's go take a look at that. Cool. So I bought a Home Depot truck. 2008, 5.4 liters of Fury, 2 driving wheels, and 315,000 miles. This thing actually runs really good, surprisingly. I didn't expect that, but the truck isn't worth anything. However, this is worth a couple bucks. Now, this is a legit Home Depot truck. You can kind of see. It's difficult to see on this door because of the landscapers stickers are still kind of there, but I almost don't want to tell you, the price that I paid for this truck is far less than you might guess. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't think you could buy a steel flatbed for what I paid for this whole truck. And I have somebody interested in the truck without the bed. So the very first thing we are going to do, we're going to pull this bed off, and we're going to modify it and make it fit mine. All right, so one of the issues that we are going to have to contend with this bed is right here on the frame rails. You will notice they are nice, straight 5-inch aluminum channel sitting on top of nice, straight steel channel truck frame. And that's because this truck is a cabin chassis, which means, industry standard, 34-inch frame width, straight rail. This way, anybody can buy any truck and put any bed on it, and they just fit, so the aftermarket companies don't have to build an aluminum bed for a Ford, for a Chevy, for a Dodge. They build one, and it fits every make and model. So that in of itself is pretty cool. The problem is that this truck is not a cabin chassis, and that means that my frame width is like 36.25, 36.5, something like that. And they're not straight rails either. They kind of they do the little hump up over the axle and stuff. So we have a little bit of work we're gonna have to do to the aluminum bed to fit our truck frame, but it's a little more complicated than that. So this truck is a dump truck. This is a kit from a company called Pierce Arrow. It's just one of their universal dump bed conversion kits that I bought years ago, and I put on the truck, and it's actually been super useful. We actually use it quite frequently, so I really don't want to give it up. So that means that this bed's going to come off, and when the aluminum one goes on, I don't have to just deal with the hump of the frame rails here. I also have to deal with making the dump conversion fit. So I got to design a way to make this fit the aluminum frame. These are my own, the hinges down here, which you'll see in greater detail at a later date. Now, the hinges for the bed are my own design. I didn't like the ones that Pierce uses, so we'll have to adapt those to the aluminum bed. We're gonna have to deal with, you know, filler necks. We have to deal with this. This is actually a water line. It goes up into my toolbox for my water methanol injection. I have my tank and pump and everything is up there. So all that whole toolbox is coming out. We're gonna have to completely replumb the water injection, because I'm not putting the toolbox in the bed, which means we have to come up with a new home somewhere for my pump and my water tank and all that stuff. So there's a lot of work to do, but phase one of this project is going to be just to get this bed off, and then we're going to try and get it up in the garage so I can start modifying the frame rails and stuff. So there's going to be a decent amount of like back and forth while I try and figure out how I want to redo the frame rails on the bed, because obviously, like I said, I have to make them fit, you know, this, and you can see like they kind of go in a little bit and they kind of go up and down. So there's a decent amount of work that I have to do to make the bed fit this truck. So fortunately though, because my bed goes up, we'll be able to get most of these measurements without taking the bed off, which means I don't have to take the truck off the road. But for now, I'm just going to get that bed off. We're going to get it in the garage, and we're going to start making new frame rails this way. As soon as all that's done, all we have to do is just lift the bed off, lift the steel bed off, plop the aluminum one on, make a couple small modifications so the dump kit fits, and then hopefully we'll be able to put this thing right back on the road. Because, you know, I don't want to. This is my tow rig. You know, it's actually, I'm not gonna lie, it's cheaper to tow this thing to the four-wheel park than it is to drive it. So ideally I would like to minimize the amount of downtime on this truck. So but to that end, like that's actually not where we're stopping. So, you know, as I did mention, the cab is in pretty bad shape. Well, as it would turn out, over here we have a whole other cab. It's actually in really good shape. The weeds are starting to grow up around it, but cab's actually in really good shape. So plan for this thing is we're going to get the bed swapped done so we can get rid of the Super Duty. That'll go away. And then this cab, I think I'm going to bring somewhere and have sandblasted. I haven't decided yet, but I'm leaning towards just having the whole cab sandblasted. Then that's going to go in the garage, and we're going to do all our body work on that cab. And I have another set of doors, I have a hood, I have a cowl, I have everything except for a pair of fenders. I have a new valance. I have everything except for a pair of front fenders and a diesel core support, which those parts we can easily buy aftermarket. So phase two of the project is going to be all the body work on that cab, so we can get that cab ready to go, done, painted 100%. Then when the time comes, we're just going to lift this cab off the frame. We're going to do some minor maintenance and upgrade things to the engine, whether, you know, maybe studs or an oil pan, up pipes, whatever we think we might need while the cab is off. It'll all be super easy to do. Probably motor mounts too, because I've never done it before. But we'll get this minor maintenance stuff done, and then we'll just take the new cab and we'll just plop the new cab back on the frame, swap my dash in, and then hopefully this thing will go right back on the road, and it won't turn into, like, you know, a 5-year project or something stupid like that. So anyways, you know, that's the plan. So enough yakking. Let me get this thing up in the driveway, and we'll start unbolting this bed. They have this neat storage compartment here for ramps, which we're not going to be using because the bed hinges are probably going to interfere with that. Also, this piece won't be here anymore. But it's in pretty good shape, right? I mean, all right. So let's see. We're gonna unhook the lights are on the frame, so that's cool. But we're gonna have to unhook all the wiring for that. We can get this apart, and then we got just 2 brackets on the side. Somewhere in here Oh, okay, the wiring is here. The previous owner had a backup camera in here, but that's all this junk here, I think. I don't think this is going to be too bad. We'll see how badly corroded. Oh yeah, filler neck. We got to unhook the filler neck. Yeah, I don't think this will be too bad. Let's see if we can get this thing unbolted. Let's go grab the socket set, the impact gun. See if we can't get some of these stubborn old bolts to come out. And if we can get this bed up off the frame. All right.
Whoa.
Are you ready?
This half of
Are you ready, bud?
Yes. Ready?
Here we go.
Action.
Cool, got it. Jeez. That's not that bad at all. Okay, cool. This might not be too bad to do.
This is heavy?
I
I
don't
can put this in there. We can put it in it.
We are gonna
Do it.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna take this whole bed off the truck, but look.
I have one too.
I think hey, come here. I think first thing we're gonna do though, bud, see that spare tire?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna take that spare tire off.
We can put it away.
Okay. Moment of truth. Let's see if this works. Not really. That corner's not coming up. Oh, okay. It's just a tight squeeze between them brackets.
It works.
It worked, right? Looks like we have wires. What are they for? Oh, the marker lights. Okay.
It works.
Okay. We have to disconnect those wires over there. Okay, I missed some wires here. I didn't realize the markers on the front of the bed go there. I'm just gonna nip those wires off for now because I really don't feel like messing with these wires while the bed's hanging. So we're just gonna nip them so we can get this bed free, and we'll rewire all that later. All right, we're gonna set this down, and we'll mess with this tomorrow. All right, cool.
That's like a room.
Bed removed. This thing's not in terrible shape, honestly. You can tell it's been sitting for a while, but otherwise fairly clean. This is what I was talking about with cabin chassis. That's pretty well stuck in there. Oh, there you go. Oh, it must be nailed on or something. But anyways, you see, nice, perfectly straight, true, very easy to work with frame rails, which we do not have. So yeah, I'm just gonna go park this thing back over in its parking space for now, and the next very next move will be figuring out how to make that bed fit for our frame. Okay, so we got the bed in the garage, upside down, kind of, you know, the headache rack is sitting on my wheel dollies, and then this back end is just sitting on a pair of 55-gallon barrels. It's close enough. It's not, obviously it's not level, but it's close enough and stable enough I can work on it. So there's two things we got to do right off the bat. I have to get rid of this. This is some kind of crummy galvanized frame. I guess that's where the ramps went. It's just pop riveted to the truck bed, which is kind of wild. And a lot, I would say probably 3/4 of the rivets are broken, so it shouldn't be too hard to get this off. And it's got to go anyway because I need the space between the frame rails for the hydraulic scissor, which will be somewhere somewhere in the middle there. And then our second issue that we're going to have to overcome is the frame rail width. This was, or is, a bed for a cabin chassis truck, so 34 1/8 inches wide, because cabin chassis have that 34-inch frame width. So these are actually going to have to be moved, and they're in kind of rough shape. Like you can see, here was the steel C-channel mount at the back. Here's where one of the straps was, and you can see like huge pieces of corrosion from where the steel was directly contacting the aluminum bed. So we have to move the frame rails anyway because they are too narrow. So to that end, I actually already have material. I went over to the my local steel supplier. I ordered a 20-foot stick. He got me, or cut me, 2 9-foot rails and then left me the remnant, which I can use to make cross members and stuff. I have some other, it's all 6061 by the way, and I have some other scrap aluminum, also 6061, that I got from my local scrap yard. So the plan right now is going to be simply try and strip the bed down, get this off of here. I got to get all these off of here. I'll cut the angle. I'll sacrifice everything to save the bed. We'll cut all this junk off. Maybe we'll save it for scraps, or maybe for experimenting with welding or something. I don't know, but yeah, I got to get all this junk off. Get the I-beams all cleaned up. Clean this up. There's a couple of dents and dings. There's one up there, and this is kind of in here a little bit and in here. I probably because of the hinges, but I want to clean it up a little bit, and then we'll get our new rails set up in here, and we'll take some measurements, figure out where they have to go, and start welding. So that actually wasn't too bad. I thought this was going to be a much bigger headache, but turned out to be not too bad. So looks like they have these little 1/8-inch spacers under the rails, and upon closer examination of the bed construction, it looks like they are necessary because this I-beam is sitting under this lip here. So I'm going to have to pick up some 1/8-inch aluminum plate because all I have is 1/4, and we're going to need to make new spacers. I don't think I'm going to be able to remove these without messing them up too much. We'll start over with new ones. So plan for the rest of the day is simply going to be I'll get this other rail off, I'll get the rest of these rivets ground down, and then we're just going to come back in and just every one of these, well, let's get everything just stripped down, cleaned up, and ready to go so that tomorrow we can just start taking some measurements and mocking up our new frame rail location. All right, so I have everything cut and ground off for both frame rails. I have my new frame rails basically ready to go. It looks like they're gonna end up roughly here, which is just slightly outboard of the original ones. Originally they were just in line with the headache rack, so now they're gonna have to be about here. I have to verify this exact location because I believe I'm looking for 37 inches from the outside of the rail to the outside of the rail, and I got to double check that one before I start tacking these things down. But I'm going to figure that one out here shortly. We have a whole pile of, they're around here somewhere. I have a whole pile of 1/8-inch aluminum that fits under here to take up that air gap, just like the manufacturer had. I have a million triangular gussets made that go here on every single web, including the back one here, and I even made an extra set for all the way up at the top there because there isn't as much support on the rails now that the rails are outboard of the crossbars for the headache rack. So to that end, I think I'm also going to, I have extra channel left over from my stick here, so I'm probably going to use a piece of that to make a cross member up across all the way up at the front at the headache rack. That should tie all that nice and together. I want to do one in the back here, I think somewhere. There's definitely going to be one somewhere around here, I think, which is going to be where the hinges connect to the bed. But I want to do something back here as well, just to cap the rails off, because I think it'll look a little bit cleaner. So there's still a lot of pieces left to be made. But for now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this off because the filler neck will no longer be connected to the bed. And I got to get rid of that sticker. Maybe we can get one that says diesel fuel. This original bracket for the mud flap needs to go. This one's already broken. I'm not convinced that that is the correct location. It may have been on the Super Duty, but I don't have a Super Duty. So I'm just going to take this one off for now. And I'm going to take this off for now just so I can actually start doing some welding today. Maybe at some point in time down the road after the bed's on the truck and it goes up and down and everything works, we'll go back in and figure out where we want to put brackets for mud flaps. Maybe they'll end up on here. Maybe maybe they'll be back here. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, I'm just going to grab the grinder. I'm going to cut these off. Then I'm going to run outside, take some measurements, and we are going to set these things up and get them tacked in place in their new home. All right, got the frame rails laid out. It's 37.5. That's what I'm going with. That's going to put this edge right in line with the outside of my frame rails. Everything is all squared up. I got them clamped in place so I can start tacking them down. I will be using my Eastwood MP200i, which I just bought their spool gun specifically for this project. I've never actually used it before until yesterday. So this is going to be a learning curve for me, but it seemed to run okay, and it does have a pretty decent length lead on it, so I shouldn't have to shuffle this thing around too much. So, but, you know, I guess we will see how this goes. So let me grab my gear and we'll climb up here and we will put some tacks on this thing. not terrible. That's not terrible, okay. This is gonna be, a nightmare just shuffling this thing around. You can already tell. Not terrible. That's not terrible either. Not too bad. This actually runs pretty nice. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I only tinkered with this thing for like 5 minutes yesterday, and it seems to be laying half decent well, so that's pretty cool. So, just get another tack or two on here. Okay. So this is not too bad, actually. Not at all. It's going to be a nightmare shuffling the camera around to weld all these pieces. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break. I'm going to climb up here. I'm going to go back through because there's a lot of spots that need to be cleaned a little bit better. Get this cleaned, and then we'll come back once I've got a little bit of progress made on these rails. A little bit of progress made here. Frame rails are all fully welded now. I got all my gussets done. I added a sixth one up on the end there because the truck bed would not have originally had those. So 100% done, all fully welded, everything, every rail inside and out, all done, ready to go. So that's cool. So moving on, I still want to build a couple cross members that spread from rail to rail. Conveniently, my remnant is 7 foot, which is just enough to make 2 cross members. So we're gonna make one that's gonna be here somewhere. I don't know exactly where between these two yet, because I have to find the end of the frame rail, and wherever the hinges are gonna be for the bed, that's where that cross member is going to land. So I'm going to make that one, but we're not going to weld it in until the truck bed's actually sitting on the frame and I can figure out precisely where it needs to go. So that'll leave me with just enough material to make one more, and I want to cap both ends. I want to have another one here, adding a little bit of rigidity to the bottom of the bed. I'm not sure. I don't know that I'm going to lay it directly on top of this. Maybe I'm going to come in a little bit so I have some meat on the top here to weld in. Maybe I'll make it out of plate. I have plenty of plate yet, and I also want to put one across here as well, because originally the frame rails would have been behind the headache rack, and now they're outboard, so you lose all that strength in the corner here. So we're definitely going to add one here. And then finally, in the center of the bed, roughly, is going to be the cross member where the hydraulic scissor for the dump conversion will attach. I don't even know how I'm going to build that one yet. We're going to cross that bridge when we come to it. I think I'm going to make it out of steel, though, and then just line it with some kind of thin plastic between the steel and the aluminum. But we can't even, I'm not even going to design that one until the bed is on the truck, because I'm not quite sure how the scissor is going to line up to these frame rails. And there might be other modifications that we have to make before we're ready to hook any of that. There might be some other modifications or tweaks that we have to do before we even get that far anyway. So I think my next move is just going to be to take some measurements and start cutting some cross members out. Okay, I've got the first cross member all cut up. Now it's just a matter of some minor trimming. I'd like to try and get this one fit all the way up in against the edge here, up against here, and I just got to do a little more trimming, maybe some clearance for one of my little welds there, and we'll slip this thing up, burn it in. Got everything done, fully welded, all finished, except for this guy, of course, which we got to figure out once the bed is on the frame. I'm kind of tinkering with the lights, and there's a couple corroded connections, a couple that don't seem to be working, so I just placed an order for a bunch of new lights. We'll strip this thing down, figure out where the problems are, get it all fixed, get them all working. But for now, I think that's going to be about it. The big thing for me is going to be getting this bed on the frame. So I think, you know, stuff's on order for the lights, but I'm not too worried about that one right now. I think the next move is going to be just get the truck in the driveway, get the original bed off of it, get this thing outside, flip it over, and get it on my truck. That way we can finish the welding, we can start figuring out what we're going to do to connect the scissor back to the bed, get all the fab work done. This way we can get the bed, you know, finish, and we can get some wires done and get the truck back on the road. I want to minimize the amount of downtime here. And there's a lot of other little things we have to do. So I think we're going to call it here, and then you know, next video, bed comes off, bed goes on. So thanks for watching.